Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the TheChatDown podcast. I'm back. I've been off for a while. I've been very ill. I had the man flu for 3 days, and then after that, I got another thing. But I'm not going to talk about it in this because you really don't want to hear about it.
No.
But yeah, how's your day been, Fraser? Man, how have you been getting on?
Yeah, it's
what's been cracking?
been too hot for me. Struggling through the day, but things are turning out better now. So good to be back. Missed you last time,
mate. But guess what?
What?
Just have a guess. One guess.
You're on holiday.
It's coming home.
It's coming home.
It's coming home. So, yeah, obviously I wasn't here last week. Thank you very much for Katie who stepped in and took my place for that episode. I really do appreciate the fact that she come in and she helped out right at last minute. Today's a little bit of a different one. Obviously, recently we've been recording a lot of musicians and different artists, but today we've got something a little bit different, something to spice things up a little bit. So today's guest is a tarot card reader, an alchemist, a shadow worker, and a spiritual worker. She goes by the name of the Bad Witch Official. Everybody, welcome to the TheChatDown, Jodie.
Hey!
Hi.
Yeah, how are you doing?
That's. I'm good. That was quite an introduction, so thank you.
We try as best to make the intros, but I promise you the rest of it goes downhill from here.
Okay.
So the intro's the best bit. First off, before we get into any questions, right? Yeah, how are you doing? How are you enjoying?
I'm
life
hot.
now?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the heat because you can do more stuff. But I like autumn or spring. I'm not really a summer person. I've got Irish skin, so I've got to hide from the sun.
Oh, I'm ginger, so I'm
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a winter person myself. I'm absolutely dripping with sweat today, and these lights
Yeah, it's a
aren't
lot.
doing me any justice.
I do
Because we
love
don't
the
have
autumn.
aircon. It's awful.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So I think before we get into the questions, get to know about what you do. I want to know a little bit more about the person behind the stuff that you do. So, like, where are you from? Where have you grown up? Stuff like that.
So I'm from Islington, what's in North London. I've lived in Essex now for a few years. So we moved out of Islington a few years ago because I didn't want my son to grow up in London. And now we live in like a little village near Chelmsford.
Yeah.
So we're just in the countryside. We live literally on a nature reserve. So we've gone from the ghetto to a nature reserve. So it's quite a culture shock, but in the best way possible.
Don't you ever find it too quiet?
No. I would have when I was younger, but I'm in my 30s now. I like the quiet. I'm happy with that. Where I grew up,
Young.
yeah, but where I grew up, it was just a lot. Like I lived on the council estate I lived on had like a pub on each end of it. So it was like constant noise and constant trouble and fighting and just so much ag that now I'm just like, quiet is good. And if I go in any direction, I've got a main town. So if I do want to do anything, there is the option of that there.
I think personally I could live on the middle of an island by myself, not surrounded by people. I'd absolutely adore it.
People are annoying, I agree.
Yeah. Life would be great without people.
It would.
So obviously, first question I've been looking at your Instagram stories and your posts on Instagram. Fraser is completely fresh. He doesn't know anything about what you do.
No, I don't.
We do that on purpose so we can get a fresh reaction from Fraser.
Perfect.
This type of stuff, what we're going to talk about, is completely out of Fraser's element. If it's fair to say, Fraser.
Yeah, completely.
So first of all, what is shadow work?
So shadow work, his name's, I don't know if you've heard of is he a psychiatrist? It's something like that called Carl Jung.
No.
But he has a saying, where you go to tea with your demons, right? So shadow work is facing the harsher side of yourself, whether that is looking at the things that you do wrong, whether that's looking at your responsibility in a situation, the things that you get triggered by, like looking at them so you can heal from them. So like shadow work, something that a lot of people avoid, especially in the community, spiritual community, where a lot of people are like, oh, just be positive, everything's great. What's not realistic? We live in this world. Most things are not great. Most things are hard. Most things are a struggle. So shadow work's just about facing that rather than just being in denial about it and being all love and light.
I do agree with that. I went through my own demons. I was a drug addict for many, many years. And I became a Christian. And I did courses where I actually faced why I did it and found out the reasons, found out, like you said, the triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And I've now been clean for 27 years.
Oh, well done.
But I still face them triggers, and it's how you approach them and how you look
100%.
at them that can keep you free from it. Because I'm still a
100%.
drug addict. I've just been clear for that many years. And every day is a struggle. And unless you've had that sort of encounter and that sort of problem in your life, it's very hard for people to understand.
100%. So you're a shadow worker as well?
Yeah.
So I had alcohol problems where I used to drink a lot because of my anxiety, and I have a lot of mental health problems that I've sort of gone through. You might have seen my series on my wall where I sort of go over some of my problems. So that's the same as yours. Like I've had to look at that. And it's very easy when you've been a victim of certain circumstances, or when you've had a hard life, or things have happened to you, to be like, oh, okay, it's okay because this has happened to me, when it's not. You're still ruining your life, as I'm sure as an ex-drug addict you can relate to.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that's exactly what shadow work is. A lot of what I do is back to like my business partner and the person that runs the coven with me, one of the girls. She's actually she's not a psychiatrist, she's like a therapist. So she's just like one under a therapist. So that's her 9 to 5. And a lot of what we do will link back to that, whether it's mental health, physical health. It all sort of links back and ties in. We just look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah. What I think is the things that we keep hidden, they're always a skeleton. My philosophy on life now is that I will share all the things that I've done, because that gives me freedom, and it also gives other people freedom, because you'll get your skeletons out of a closet. What has anybody got to attack you with?
100%.
Yeah.
I love that. So, and I also think when you share it, you also allow other people to feel safe to share what they've got going on, and you also let other people learn. Like you fighting a demon that is like addiction, and something like drug addiction. That is, you've a warrior with it, right? Like you've learned really great things that you can share and help other people with. So that's what I like to do with my life.
Have you ever heard of Gateway? Gateway, it's like AA or GA, but it's everything included. And we used to have men and women groups where whatever we spoke about stayed in the room. Nobody went out and talked about it. And these people had various problems. And we got such a group together, and there was such a bond that if somebody was down, we were on the phone. And we had such a great leader that just facilitated in anything that we needed to do.
So that's beautiful. I like, as much as humans irritate me, I do think we are meant to be community based, and that's where we've sort of forgotten, because humans are irritating. We all have like these different ways of going about things, and there's so much to divide us, I feel now, whereas where we need to be connected for our own mental strength.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think going back on what you just said a minute ago, Jodie, I completely agree with the things that you go through. It can help other people. I have quite a dark past of crime and drugs and doing the wrong things at the time. But I believe I went through what I went through so that my kids and other people that listen to me don't have to go through that same experience. So I was really buzzed when you said that. I was like, oh, she's just nicked my point.
No, I love that. It's exactly the same. I used to think I was Jodie from the block. Like, I was so ghetto. It was unbelievable. And it was the shadow work. So it's like I moved away from London. I had to really look at myself and really get a reality in check. And I do think when you have children, it was mainly him. I just sat there and I thought, I was living in Islington. I was thinking, so how's my son going to be in 10 years' time, 20 years' time? And it was it wasn't a good place that he was going to be in if I stayed where I was at. And then it was like, yeah, no, I need to change. I need to like do the work so he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I did a similar thing. I moved away to a quieter place, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I look out window and go, I ain't had a bottle get smashed throat today. Where's noise? I say that as they're all partying over England game outside now, but
I went and lived on a farm in Wetherby in the middle of nowhere, and I lived there for 6 months with people that didn't know me, that took me in, and they loved me, and that's where I became a human being. And then from then, I went to York, and that was the best place that I ever lived because I met my beautiful wife, and we've been married 26 years this year. So it was through the experiences I've gone through that has made me the man I am today. Just before, I was selfish, I was inverted, I was number one, that was all I was interested. And now I believe that I'm such a caring person that I want to give as much as I can to displace what I did before.
You see, I really get that. I love York, by the way. I've been going to York recently. I've been up there a few times, and it's such a beautiful place. Like, I'm obsessed with history, and like the history that you see is just beautiful in York.
Yeah, I agree.
I've never actually been to York.
Oh, you need to go.
Never been.
Yeah, you do.
I'm probably the most under-travelled person you will ever speak to. Until I was until I was 15, I'd never left Leeds.
Wow.
And the only places I've ever lived or been are really rough, rundown areas like Moss Side, Oldham, Homewood in Bradford. So I still need to see all these nice places. But I've got a friend down there who I think is the same person you're on about, who hopefully I'll be going to see down there soon anyway. So
okay.
Down there. Yeah, kind of. So this next question is kind of more. It's a mixture. It's for me, and it's for my girlfriend. So, I speaking to you, I've found out that you do tarot card reading. Now, this is something that my girlfriend, she swears by them. She always go every time we go to Blackpool, she'll go to one of either the tarot card readers or just the ones that do the palm stuff. But I've never understood what it actually is. I'll be honest, I've always thought in Blackpool it's just a gimmick to get you to spend some money. But I'm hoping you can change my perspective on that. And
you know what, you actually said it there. It's about changing your perspective. So tarot cards, there's like, I can't remember, I think there's 72 cards, but I might be wrong. And each card represents a stage of your life. So like if you laid out all the tarot cards, it would be a journey from like beginning with life and a new idea or a new beginning or a new love, and it would end with death, what represents a new beginning. So if you was to have a child, for example, that would be represented by death because your old life's coming to an end and then your new life's coming in. So each card represents certain areas of your life. So when you do a reading, your intuition comes in where it would be what cards you're meant to see. So if you believe in things like the law of attraction, it would be what it is that you need to see right now would be coming up in the cards. And the main aim is to change your perspective and to look at your situation from an outsider's point of view, get advice, get tips, and see if you can go ahead with a new perspective. And that's how I find them most beneficial. I mean, some tarot readers predict your future and do certain things like this. Although I do a bit of that, it's not the main aim of my readings. My main aim of my readings is to change people's perspectives so they can get a new perspective.
I like that. I do like that.
Yeah.
With you saying like obviously the predicting, some of them do like try predicting futures and stuff. Do you think that can be dangerous?
Yes, that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, because
I do.
was I've been asked this question before. If you knew, for instance, that you was going to die within say 6 months, just to give a random number, realistically, you're going to do everything you can to avoid that. So you're just going to be you're not going to be living your life.
Now you're going to live by a set of rules.
I don't feel like anything's set in stone either. Like I do believe that we came here, like we came to Earth. I believe in like almost like soul contracts that we're all here for a higher purpose. Yeah. But I also believe we have choice. So whether we live up to that higher purpose is up to us. Like throughout life, you have multiple choices and roads that you can walk down. And I don't think it's determined which one that you walk down. But if you walk down certain roads, you do get certain outcomes. And if you like go by your higher self and you make sure you're doing the shadow work and you make sure you're being your best version of yourself, then you're going to get the best outcome. Whereas if you ignore it, you're not going to get the best outcome. So even when I do predict the future, it's never right, this is set in stone. It's more like, right, next month you're going to have some anxious situations come up. I might sort of go into what sort of anxious situations, and it'll be, let's prepare for that. So how we can prepare for that is make sure you spend enough time on yourself that month. Make sure you're not getting into situations you know better. Rather than saying someone's gonna, like, when the first time I done myself a reading, it was a different set of tarot cards than I use now, and it was like, you're gonna be going to court. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, like, I'm always in, like, I thought that was behind me. I've been going court since I was a kid. And I did end up going court. But the thing I went to court for was something really silly and minor. And the stress just wasn't worth me knowing. I'd rather have not known. And it put me off for a while. And then my brother, who is like the complete opposite of me, he doesn't believe in any of this stuff, right? He bought me a deck of cards for my birthday. And they're beautiful cards. And the reason he bought them is because it said on them, it said, even if you don't believe in tarot, these are a great way to change your perspective and to get a new outlook in life. And there was a more like a psychological aspect to it, rather than you're going to court, someone's going to turn up at your door unexpectedly, and all of these things that some tarot cards can tell you.
Is it quite common, that court one? The reason I ask that is so Katie, who did the podcast for me last week, she does all this tarot card reading and crystal work, I think it's called. I might be getting it wrong.
No, you're right.
But she did a reading on me like ages ago when she come to do a podcast to speak about similar stuff. And she said the same thing, but she worded it more like, either you or somebody close to you is going to go to court for something within, like, very soon.
It's not necessarily it's common, but a lot of things are common. Like, I'll read for people, and there may be a couple of key things that are the same for each person, but it will be in a different like a different scenario. So when I do a reading, it could be like, for example, I've got the Fool card, what means you need to be a fool and jump into something, right? You need to not worry about falling, you need to jump into something. So I might get that for 5 different people, but then it will be with different cards, so it will be from a different perspective. So some it might be in relationships, you've been hurt in the past, but you need to be okay to jumping in. Some it might be in regards to work, like you might have lost a couple of jobs before, doesn't mean give up. Like, the context is usually different, although the same card can come up and that sort of key meaning can be the same.
Right, that makes so much more sense now. My girlfriend will love you now for doing that, but that just means it's just going to cost me more money every time I go to Blackpool.
Oh, Scott.
So, like, when you're doing these readings, is it always? I've heard a lot about. So I believe that when I walk into a room, I can instantly tell if there is a bad vibe about somebody. Do you ever get that during your readings where you're at the point where you're like, oh, this is a bit odd?
No. So when I do readings, I need to tap into that person's energy. And how I do that is I usually do it, if I don't know them, I look at a photo of them. And if I do know them, I think about them and sort of picture them in my head. And then how I need to tap into it is by thinking of all the positives of them. Yeah. So it's like I end up having a sort of a care or a love for the person that I'm reading for. And I've been very fortunate where I haven't had anyone that has, I think it's because I'm called the bad witch. If I was called like the nice witch, I might have had more problems. But I've always had like really nice understanding and people that are there for the real, like the right reason. It's one of the main reasons I'm glad I charge as well. I mean, if I could afford to, I'd do my readings to everyone for free. But it's because I know if you're going to pay for it, you're going to take it seriously. You're not going to just come to waste my time, waste my energy, and just to make a mockery of it. But no, I haven't really had that. Whereas in real life, I often don't like people's energy. I'm often like, I don't like them. I drive everyone mad. I'm like, no, I don't like them. I could just see everything.
I think, yeah, I do. Get really bad in my pit of my stomach when I meet somebody that I don't like. You can just feel it brewing until you walk away, and that's the best thing to do in that situation. Could I ask you why you call the Bad Witch?
So I started the Bad Witch Coven. So it wasn't I called myself the Bad Witch. I started a community called the Bad Witch Coven, At first, it was called the Basic Witch Coven, and then I was thinking, it was literally called that, and I was thinking, yeah, but who wants to be called Basic? I know I don't. So I was like, right, do you know what? Bad bitch, bad witch. There we go. And then people started calling me the Bad Witch because I was running the Bad Witch Coven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it to be fair, it just sounds better when you say it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's sick.
But so, like, obviously, is it classed as, so what you do, is it classed as spirituality?
Yeah, so it would come under the umbrella. I mean, I didn't always identify as a witch. When I was younger, I was always into, like, since I can remember, I've been into spirituality. I was that girl at a house party. I'd be with, like, the biggest gangsters, people that do the most deadliest things, talking about energy and about crystals, and everyone would be like, Jodie, shut up. But I would still be there talking about it regardless. Like, I've always been into it and always read a hell of a lot about it. The witch, taking on the term witch was quite recent, like the last few years. Again, it's when I started the coven, people started calling me a witch, and I didn't disagree. I do agree to it. But it definitely comes under spirituality. But the same way I think all religion comes under spirituality. Anything that does to deals with our spirit is under spirituality. We just all practice it differently.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that.
We have Christian
definitely.
witches.
Yeah.
We have witches that are Christian. I've actually interviewed one on my lives.
Yeah.
A Christian witch.
Yeah, so Fraser is Fraser's a Christian himself.
Yeah, I remember him saying, because I also studied the Bible on numerous occasions. When I was younger, I've looked at Jehovah's Witness, born again Christian, Catholic, Protestant. But I probably know more about Christianity than any other non-Christian that I know. Like, and a lot of it I agree with. It's just there's just certain bits like where it's been edited so much, and like King James Bible. King James was a horrible man, like a horrible
he
man.
was. Terrible man. Yeah,
he was awful. And I don't like, obviously, the treatment of women in the Bible and the excuse that's been put on it. I think if we found the original Bible, I'd love it, absolutely love it. But it's just like the Adam and Eve story. In that story, I don't know if you know the bit about Lilith.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So Lilith was the first wife, for the people that don't know, and she wanted to be equal to Adam. So Adam got rid of her, and that's when Eve come in. So I'm Team Lilith, and a lot of people demonized Lilith and said Lilith was evil. But to me wanting to be equal to a man isn't evil. So there's no problem for me.
What actually annoys me is where people take scripture and turn it around and use it in the wrong way, and they use it to their own gains. And it's so obvious when they do it, and I hear it quite often. And they'll use a well-known scripture to make themselves look bigger and better, which isn't the aim of Christianity. The aim of Christianity is love.
So it's like Jesus. I believe in Jesus. I think Jesus was literally saying, like, we're all equal. We're all the children of God. We're all this. We're all that. You can find it within. Right. And then people have took it and gone like, right, no, you've got to pay us to talk to him. Or if your family dies and they don't do what we say, they're going to burn in hell. And I just can't sign on to that. I can't. Women, slavery, all of these things. I'm just not. That's what I don't.
I am a born again Christian. So,
okay.
And I'm in total agreement with what you say. You know, I do go and talk to homeless people, and I used to work in a homeless shelter to give them the message of hope, and that's what it is. Not to bash people around the head and give the hell story. So give them a hope for the future and tell people that you love them.
That's it. I think that's what I love that. And when I meet people in the church, like, you know, you might come across like priests or vicars, whatever it is. I've done twice in the last 2 years because I live quite a small village where they've just popped up and they're like, "Can I pray for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, please do." Like, to me, that's a spell. When you pray, it's meditation and it's manifesting and it's a spell. Like, I have no qualms with that. I have qualms with people, and people, especially like in the Catholic Church, as I'm sure you're aware. The ridiculous amounts. Like, the Vatican has all of our information, our history is hidden in the Vatican, and then with Protestants, it's literally Henry VIII wants to get his leg over. Like, I'm not. Like,
he wanted to get divorced.
Yeah,
he wanted to get divorced, and because he couldn't get divorced, beheaded his wife. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable, does that?
I will be honest. So to me, I'm not religious at all, but I'm currently so me and Fraser have had conversations about this, and I'm kind of on a journey at the moment where I want to know a little bit about everything.
That's where I was at, and that's a good place to be.
Because in my head, so I believe that the almighty power to me is my brain. So that is the thing that is making me get up every morning. That's the thing that's making me push for the next thing. That's the thing that's helped me get my promotion at work, do the podcast. But then obviously I've had chats with Fraser, and we've had interesting conversations about his religion, which is another podcast, which is faith.
So we call it faith. Thank you.
Sorry, Fraser.
It's okay.
Which is another thing that we're going to be diving into at some point on the podcast. But I'm kind of just trying to learn everything I can about.
That's what you need to do.
Everything.
So I believe, like you said, I believe my mind. So I believe in a collective consciousness. If you want to call that God, you can call it God. I don't call it God because God is masculine. I think it's masculine and feminine. I feel like something has to be both in order to be complete. So I believe in sort of a masculine and feminine energy, universal energy that our consciousness are collectively connected to. So like when you create, for example, I don't know if you create, whether it's drawing or singing or writing a book or whatever it may be, you tap into somewhere else. Like you literally tap into somewhere else, and I think that's the collective consciousness.
I was sat on a bus about 3 weeks ago, and I got these words in my head. I have never written poetry in my life, and I got my phone. I was really going for it, and in the last 3 weeks, I've written something like 15 poems. And to be quite honest, me being bragging about it, they are very, very good. And I've just got a passion for it now. I've never been creative, and to have that outlet, I could be feeling really unhappy, and it opens you up. It gives really you some heal inside. And yeah, absolutely.
That's alchemy to me. That's what when you said I'm an alchemist, that's what to me alchemy is. As I'm sure you know, I have a lot of artists around me. So I work around loads of different creative people, and I never thought I was creative. And then one of them said to me, you're more creative than all of us. And I was like, what are you even on about? And it was just, I had no outlet for it. I didn't have a way. And I ended up writing a book, writing a whole book. And when I read it back, I'm like, where did that come from? I don't even feel like it was me.
That's exactly what I'm like with my poetry. I'm like, where did that come from?
You're channeling it. Yeah. So for you, through God, to me, I say through the universe, whatever you like. I don't like getting caught up in words. It's like we're just channeling it. We're just channeling this beautiful energy, and it's coming through, and that's alchemy. We're turning our pain, something rubbish, into something that's gold and precious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, that is one of the things that I've when you said that, then I thought, actually, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just about to start releasing some music, and I'm currently writing a book about my life from being 15 to 25. As my family always say, you've lived 4 lives in 10 years. But yeah, I'm doing something similar. But I find that same thing when I write it, I'm just gone. Like I'm gone to the world. The world doesn't exist anymore, and
it's so beautiful,
focused. And then I kind of come out of it, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
I writ that. I didn't even get a D in English. How have I writ that? And it just shocks me every time. Same with Fraser's poetry. When he told me you were writing it, at first it was kind of like, okay, yeah, you've said you're going to do this before. It's similar things. And then he read them to me, and I'm like, you're my friend, you. Like, this one of my friends is really good at something. But no,
I love that.
It is
I think that's the beauty of the world. Like that's just manifestation. It's just the beauty. It's bringing beauty into the world, and we live in the best time for it as well. Like in the spiritual community, we call it the age of Aquarius that we're going into now, right? And that's like age of Aquarius is like technology and stuff like that. And we're living in a time where I used to write poems when I was a young teenager, and I'd write them, and then that would be it. Whereas now, there's like you could do so much. We got YouTube, we got Instagram, we got Facebook. Obviously, you've got the facilities to do a podcast. We literally have the whole world in our hands, and we have like the ability to do anything we want with that. And that's just crazy. It's like the best time ever.
Yeah,
it is. we were on about this the other day when we were trying to figure out what avenues to take, and then we realised we have all these different outlets in front of us. Just take them all. Just try
Yeah,
everything you can. And
absolutely.
even if it don't work out, you can still turn around and say, well, at least I tried.
Yeah.
That's it. And who's to
Some-
say things don't work out? If you do it, you've done it. Like, it's still worked out.
Yeah. Something you said about labels has triggered something with my head. If you label something, oh, you are this, you are that, it puts you in a box.
Yep.
It doesn't allow you to grow. It doesn't allow you to become something. I was across at my mother's a few weeks ago, and she gave me some reports from school, and I read them, and it was Fraser is disorganised, Fraser doesn't concentrate, Fraser is a bit lazy, Fraser likes to please people, and it was a whole list of negative things. And I went out from my mother's, and I came home, and I was so upset, and I just sat and I meditated on what I'd read, and then it came to me what I've actually achieved since I left school, the things that I've gained, the things that I've helped people do. And it's not actually where you start off, it's a journey to where you're going that really makes a difference.
100%. And I feel like the harder things that you go through, and usually the harder things is when you make the stupidest mistakes, right? Whether it was me with alcohol, you with drugs, like we made really stupid decisions. We went through really terrible times, and then we pulled ourselves out of it. And then not only that, we've turned around and been able to still have love in our heart, still be able to turn around and want to help other people, be open with our experiences and have the strength to be open with our experiences to help other people. I just think that's beautiful, and it's not something that I really try and instill this in my child as well. It's not something like you should be ashamed of. Like, you've been through what you've been through for a higher purpose, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So you can turn around to the next people, the people behind you, whether they're older than you, younger than you, and just say, look, listen, I learned this. Please listen to it, otherwise, so you don't have to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I told my sons, I've got twin sons that are 22 now, and I told them about everything that I'd done. And they said, we're proud of you, Dad. And they said, but why did you tell us? I said, so you don't feel like you've got to make these mistakes, because I've made them, and I don't want you to make them mistakes. And they both got their head so screwed on. One of my sons is a musician. He plays saxophone, and he's an amazing grade 8. My other son, he did a degree. He's amazing. They just bless me. They're just wonderful human beings. And I think if you can say that about your children, you've got a winner, really.
100%. I think it's very important as well, because like growing up, my mum and dad were always, they didn't tell me all the bad things they've done and stuff. Most parents don't. But I feel like when your kids do bad things, they learn so much. They learn that you have redemption because your mum and dad like come out of it the other end. They learn that you can make mistakes. That's okay. Like, there's so much like suicide rates and stuff like that are so high that I never want my son to be sitting there and just thinking he's a terrible person and that's it now, I may as well go. I want him to know I'm a terrible person now. My mum was a terrible person. My dad was a terrible person. But they turn it around, and now they're wherever they are, where they are. Do you know what I mean? And I think you sharing that with your sons is so important for that reason.
Yeah. The thing is, we talked about this earlier. You keep something hidden, and I do believe that there's a lot of illnesses in this world that are caused by people holding negative things in them, and it's proven that this is a fact. So I try to be open with everybody, and I suggest people are open with me, because I'd rather hear a truth than somebody telling me what they think they want me to hear.
100%.
And I think that's really important.
Very.
I always say about Scott that I call him the Edge, because he is brutally honest. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather have a friend like that that's brutally honest, because we have such a good friendship, and I appreciate him as a human being.
I think it's so important. I'm often brutally honest, where people that I hanged around with 10 years ago will be messaging me asking me stuff because they know I'll be honest about it. And I pride myself. I think it's so there's a book called The 5 Agreements. It's a great book. It's small. You can literally read it in like 20 minutes. And one of the agreements is your word is everything. Like, your word is everything. The minute you are known for a liar, then you're a liar, and your word means nothing. Whereas
Nothing.
if you're honest, your word means everything. Like, if I say to someone, what you're doing right now is not okay, or how you're acting is not okay, or you're in the wrong here, as I've got a good character and known to being honest, they'll believe it. Whereas if I didn't and I was always lying, no one's ever going to believe you. And I think it's so important.
Your integrity is such a delicate thing. And once it's broken, it is impossible to fix.
It really is. It takes years to fix it. I do feel like you can turn it around. Like, I was a horrible person when I was younger. I've always had like morals and a semi-okay heart, but we call it the survival chakra. So my friend, the one that I was saying in America, that's a therapist, she's also a Reiki master, and she does like the chakras, and it's called the survival chakra. So when you're living in your survival chakra, you're just doing anything you can to survive. It's the root chakra, right? And it's just about survival. You haven't, and I'm sure both of you will recognize it, where when you're on drugs or you're living in a bad area and you're just doing anything to survive, and it's do or die. Like, it's literally do or die.
That's right.
And you can't be a good person with morals then, because you will get killed, or you will end up in jail, or you'll end up in certain situations. But once you've removed yourself from that and done the shadow work and looked at it, I feel like that's when you can start regaining your integrity back. But like you said, once that's gone, it is something that is so hard. And some people you'll never get it back from. Like, some people just never look at you the same, whereas others, like, it took me years to build back what I lost. But it's definitely redeemable.
I lost a lot. I didn't see my mother for going on 3 years, and now I've got a relationship with her again, and we get on so well. But my brother, he's very blinkered in his view. He's a completely different person than me, and he hasn't talked to me in 28 years. And I really want, because he's my older brother, I really want to have him back in my life. So what I've started doing is writing him a letter explaining how things have changed, because you can't go to the end of life and regret not trying.
100%. 100%. Unfortunately, though, it's one of those things where he's got to be meeting you halfway, and that's always such a struggle. I do hope that works out for you, though.
Thank you. Have you seen Bruce Almighty? The only thing you can do is not alter somebody else, how they think about you. You can't make somebody love you, and you can't make somebody like you. But I want to write this letter not for him. I want to write it for me, to explain to him how life has changed and who I've become. And hopefully when he reads that...
when you've done badness, you should explain it. And then I feel like it's balance, right? So it's like, you should explain to him how things have changed. You should apologise for whatever it is that you've done. But then once that's done, it's like he has to then meet you
halfway,
some type of way. Yeah,
I agree with it totally. That's such good advice.
I had a similar situation where I had to rebuild a lot of bridges, especially when I moved from Armley up to where I live now. So many people had never forgiven me for some of the stuff I'd done. But then when they realised that I'm actually a really nice person behind the labels, it kind of shocks a lot of people. I mean, Fraser, when I first met him, first thing he heard of me is, "Oh, it's a lad coming up from Armley. He did some questionable things." Everyone else were a bit, I don't know if I want to talk to him because I've heard stories about where he's from. Fraser, he'd been my friend for about 20 years. He just pops in, "You all right, mate?" But I'd never known what he'd gone through. And I believe that because we both had similar energies to each other, that we attracted to each other.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Fraser, can you just quickly 100%. Turn the light on, buddy? But yeah, so one of the things that I noticed the other day is I was watching your Instagram stories, and you went to, I think it was Bradford you went to.
Yeah, I was in Bradford, yeah. I had to think then. I'm always everywhere. I'm like the opposite of you.
These like rock things that you went to. We're like,
that was York.
Oh, was that York?
Yeah, that was in. I went to Bradford and York same day.
Nah, right. Sorry? Well, you've been too many places, so I can't keep track. But you were putting different items on top of these rocks. Could you just explain to us, like what that was doing? Yeah.
So it's called Mini Stonehenge in York. I think it's North York.
Yeah, it's
like near York Centre. Civic Centre. But it's called Mini Stonehenge, and it's literally a mini Stonehenge. And last time I went to York, not this time, the last time I went up there, but I went up with my husband and his friend. It's actually really funny. So my husband's friend, you know Keon, right?
Yeah.
So Keon came down, and we was talking about going up to him. And I was like, there's one place, because everyone knows I love history. I was like, but there's one place I have to go to. And I showed him a picture of it. And he was like, that's behind my house. I went, no, it's not. Like, this is just some random photo that I've seen on Facebook. He said, yeah, no, it's behind my house. I was like, right, I'm going. So the first time I went with Keon and my husband. And I couldn't really do much. We stayed there for 2 minutes. I done my little history spiel and told everyone what's what. And then we left. And then this time when I went up there, I went up with the elements. So I'm a Celtic witch. I believe in the elements. That's it. So I work with the elements. Each element covers an area of your life. So like, for example, earth would represent the real, that material world. Water would be your creativity and your love and your emotions. Fire's like protection, passion. And then air would be like manifestation, action, intellect, right? So what I've done is how they're set out, the first one is east. So you always start with east. And as soon as I went there, you can tell which one's east because it's always got like the main bit. So each element has, so east is air, south is fire, west is water, and then north is earth. So I put the relevant element for each one. And then while I was doing that, I sort of done like a prayer / spell and then asked for like the elements help and support. So for air, I would ask for help with manifestation. Fire, I asked for protection. Water, I asked for help with so I can keep my emotions in check. Earth, I asked for me to be sort of grounded and steady and strong. And then spirit is like our spiritual, inside our spirit is everything. And I put a crystal, but it was quite weird because there was a big thing in the middle. So I've climbed up to put a crystal in, and there was like a hole with a dip, like the perfect size for it. I was like,
what are the chances?
Yeah, it was so weird. So yeah, that was what I'd done there. It was so much fun. I'm going to do it every time I go now, I think.
So is that what Stonehenge is? The same thing but bigger, or
no? It's not. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same stone placement as Stonehenge.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Stonehenge, and I've driven past it, but I've always been told that you can't go right up there, so I've never really bothered.
No, you can't.
Yeah, no. So I haven't really. I'm a real I like to touch things and really be into it. So it's not the same placement as Stonehenge. This was like stones all around it, and then it had like a big one for each side, and then it had something around the middle. Like it was a lot, but it would have been similar time periods. I also believe with history. I feel like when the Bible and the Quran was like law, and you had to believe in them, and you had to go to church, it was impossible for anyone to say no. Civilization's older. Civilization had to be the same age as the Bible, whereas there's been so much evidence showing that there were civilizations pre 5,000-6,000 years ago. So I think they're a lot older than we think, but a lot of it has been destroyed. They didn't write things down, and when Christianity come over, they destroyed a lot of it and killed the people that knew about it and burnt all the books and all of that stuff. So you have to sort of go off intuition and the little bits of fragments of information that you can find.
Yeah.
So if there were, obviously we have a few people that are interested in all sorts of different walks of life that listen to this. If there's anybody that's interested in getting into the type of work that you do, or even just interested in researching it, I know I'm wanting to have a look at some stuff when we've finished. Do you have anything that you could recommend for people to go watch or read to educate themselves a little bit better?
Off the top of my head, I mean, I am one of them people where I've just studied everything. Like I said earlier, I've been a Jehovah's Witness, I've been a born again Christian, I've been a Catholic, I've been a Protestant. So a lot of what I know, I've like picked up from all different places and then sort of put together myself. Buddhism was for me in my journey where shadow work was concerned. Buddhism was my go-to thing, right? Buddhism isn't a religion. You can be a Christian Buddhist, you can be a witch Buddhist. Like it's more of a mindset. There's a book called The Art of Happiness that changed my life, The Art of Happiness, and that was a psychiatrist talking to the Dalai Lama, and it's about how to be happy and how to not have the attachments that we tend to have. In regards to spirituality, let me think. What is there? There was a book that I had. I think I've lent it out, but it was Celtic magic. What I can do is I'll put it on my story, but I'll tag you in it so you can screenshot it and put it on as well.
Yeah.
But there's a few Celtic books that I've looked into. But again, I've studied so much history and so much religion. That's sort of a question that I wouldn't even know where to begin. I really wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah, so you've just kind of had a go at everything and created you created your own book in a sense.
That's it. I've got OCD, so I get obsessive.
Yeah.
So I get like really obsessive about certain subjects. So when like history is concerned, I've just studied everything and then been like, this don't make no sense. Like when we learn history, we just learn about the royal family basically and what happened around the royal family. So when I read books about Scottish history, I mean, I'm Irish, so I've researched Irish history. And then I've learned about how like Ireland was colonised and Scotland was colonised by the English and about how we've lost our like our belief systems. I mean, I've picked up loads from things like Outlander. I don't know if you've seen Outlander. What's about Scotland? Yeah, that's about Scotland. Then there's books like I love historical fiction. So I'll read books about them sort of places. And when I see something, I'm like, that sounds true. And I'll look into it and Google it and go into it more and sort of go right down a rabbit hole rather than just reading one book. So yeah, that is a tricky one, but I will have a think. After this, I know things will pop into my head that I should have said. So I'll definitely send them over to you.
Don't worry, we get the same problem as soon as we finish.
Yeah.
Because we work together.
Okay.
So we'll be sat there at work going, oh, why didn't I ask that?
I always do it. It's like 10 minutes after my brain sort of shut down and I've relaxed. And I've got the best questions that I've ever heard of. And it's gone like,
it's so frustrating.
But I'm very similar in the way that I get obsessed over things. I'm currently going through a stage at the moment where, and it simply started off by just looking at some pictures of Eden Camp, and I can't stop watching things around the world, around what were happening in World War II, with Normandy and the Battle of Midway and all that type of stuff. And the hours I've spent watching just random documentaries on YouTube, it's unreal.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, when I was younger, I would see something I was interested in. I'd have to go to the library and you'd have to go out and pull out books and you'd be like there trying to learn about it. But now it's like so easy to get information. Like all you literally need to do is Google and then you can sort of find and go off. And so, but when it comes to like going back on where you learned that, you're like, where did I learn that? That was basically a 2 a.m. Google search. Like it's just, it's really good in some senses, but then you do sort of lose where you get it from.
I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and I get this thought in my head and I think, how does that work? And they're Googling at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I start reading about something and all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I've just been Googling stuff for that long. I think information and knowledge is an amazing thing. I just want to know more and more about different things.
I think that's so important. Having a curious mind is one of the most important things to have. I really, really think that. I think that is, like, I pride myself in being a scholar and I always have. I failed miserably at school. I got kicked out in year 8. I failed really bad at school with everything. But I've always been a real scholar where I'll go away and just learn everything myself. I didn't want them to teach me. What they were saying didn't make no sense.
Can I ask you a question about that? Can I ask you a question? Do you feel that if you're interested in something and you want to know about something, you're going to go 100%, whereas if somebody wants to teach you something and you don't find it interesting, you're not going to do anything about it? Because that's my life. That's my life. I've always been like that. People have tried.
I think that's normal. Like, and also it'd be things that don't make sense for me to learn. Like when I've done a beauty therapy course, and then she'd be like, "We've got to learn all the words in Latin." I'm like, "Why? Why? If you come in to get your nails off of me, you don't want me to tell you in Latin what your nails are. Like I'm not spending hours of my life learning Latin for that. I'm just not, and I'm really stubborn and rebellious. So that I just think the school system is set for a certain sort of person, and that's not me. It doesn't sound like
not me either.
Yeah.
No.
So I even say to my son, as long as you try your hardest, I don't care. Like, I really don't.
Yeah.
It's so weird because things you're saying, I'm sat here thinking it's so similar.
I
would say
all are though. Most humans, we can meet each other on a certain level. It don't matter who you are. I've had a sink. Sorry, go on.
I got kicked out of school at a similar age, and learned everything that I know now myself.
And you're better off
Very
for it.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, tend to a lot and way better off. I was put, according to my teachers, word for word, you will be in prison or dead by the time you're 21.
Well, we
25,
proved them
I'm
wrong.
still here.
Yeah.
Hey.
I remember I told my teacher in year like 7 or 8, parents even, that I want to be a lawyer, and they laughed at me. And then, do you know what? I would have been a really good lawyer. I really would have. It was just, but why laugh? What they should have said is, well, right, Jodie, you need to knuckle down on this, this, and this, and seen that there was something that I was interested in and taught me academically to get there. But instead, they wanted to belittle me because I obviously made their energy feel inferior or something.
When Tom first started the saxophone, there was a teacher at his school, and he took so much interest in him, and he was giving him private lessons, and he's now going to be 23 this year, and his tutor at the music centre, they're still friends, and they're still teaching him because he's invested in Thomas, and he wants to see Thomas succeed. And I think that there are a lot of teachers there that are there for the paycheck, not to build an educated person, not to make them into a full person. They're just there for the money, and at the end of the day, they go home. Whereas you do get some teachers that are absolutely amazing, that are there to expand them, to make them into a better human being, to give them experiences.
100%.
And everything that you've talked about tonight has been amazing, because you're that sort of person as well. And I was very nervous about this, and you're such an amazing person.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm glad. I get why some people, I've had that my whole life anyway, before I was a witch, where people meet me and go, you're actually really nice, because I've got a real resting bitch face. But I just try to meet humans where I'm at. But to say what you said with the teacher, I actually had to pull my son's teacher 2 weeks ago because of that. Like, my little boy is 9. He is the most kindest. He's very confident and outgoing, but he's very kind. Every teacher he's ever had, I'll go into parents' evening and they'll be welled up like, he's just so lovely. And I'm like, I know, thanks. And he's so intelligent when it comes to politics and history, right? Like, he tells me things and I'm like, how do you even know that? Like, he will tell his teacher about like politics and they don't even know. But this new teacher is, like you said, he's there for the paycheck. And Regan, he keeps on coming in saying, oh, you need to respect me. So my little boy turned around to him and said, no, I don't have to respect you. If you're not going to treat us with some sort of respect, you're not going to get that back. So the teacher went absolutely mental at him. So I went up to him after. So my son's come out of school crying his eyes out, and he's not usually a crier like that.
Yeah.
So I went up to the teacher and I said, look, you're not above reproach. You're not. I'm not. If I do something wrong, my son is allowed to say to me, Mum, you've done something wrong. Like, just because I'm an adult doesn't make me like an angel that doesn't do anything wrong. Like, so how can he tell you you're treating him badly?
Yeah.
Like, how?
You're right. Yeah.
Because he needs to be able to. You're in his life as nearly as much as I am. Like, how am I going to come and give you my child and he can't even talk to you when he feels like you're doing him wrong? Like, but he's still doing it. He actually done, that typical thing that all teachers say. One of his mates said that he wants to be a YouTuber, and the teacher said, "Oh yeah, well, good luck with your failed dream."
Oh.
It's like,
wow.
Don't worry. When he's a famous YouTuber, he'll be telling everyone about that. So don't worry. Like, it's horrible. It really irks me. I think doctors, teachers, nurses, if you're not there for the right reason, fuck off. Like, that's the God's honest truth. Do not do it. Go and do something else. Like, you need to be in it for the right reason. And I feel like we need to build a system that makes that. The system we've got now is definitely broken around that, I feel.
My wife's a nurse. She's been a nurse for a lot of years, and she's doing the vaccinations. And as she's giving vaccinations, she's really asking about their lives. She's really concerned about what she tells them about the after effects and about whatever else can happen. And she tells them, when you get home, drink plenty of water and, loads and loads of advice. And she is one of the kindest person that I've ever met. She's just a wonderful woman.
Yeah. And we need them to be treated so they want to stay there. Like, your wife should be on such a nice wage that she can just live so beautifully. Because I can bet she's on a terrible wage because she's a nurse. That she can live so beautifully that people want to be nurses, and then they've got to be judged by their character. If that makes sense? Rather than
that makes total sense.
Yeah, like I think the system is so broken. It drives me literally insane, and that's
Last
why
week,
I don't have a government. I haven't got a government. I don't follow government rules. I do whatever I think's right. Like the government is not my government because they're a joke.
last week she was at work and she parked the car in the car park and went into where they were giving vaccinations. Somebody went out, got in their car, reversed into a car. What did they do? Drove off. And I think she was doing this work and somebody's done that to her. And it doesn't fit right with me. You know, if I've done something wrong, I'm going to say, hey, mate, I knocked your car. Sorry. What can I do to help? But to drive off.
At a hospital as well.
Yeah.
It's
just
disgusting.
wrong. Yeah.
No, we're carers, so we get similar situations where we get people when we're in town. We kind of get. I don't know if you've had the same thing, Fraser, but like people look at us like, well, you just. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it's because we've got. We work with autistic adults, and when we get funny looks off people, it's like, come on, you need to appreciate what we're doing, and the fact that this is still a person. Like, I don't know. There's too many negative people out there.
Yeah. I was on a bus with a client, and there were people behind me taking the mick out of them and laughing at them. And because I've got my professional side, I didn't want to go and confront them because I thought it'd just go out of control. So I just ignored it. But then I felt bad afterwards. And I really do believe that I should have said something. You know, like Scott said, the human being, they've got rights and dignities of everybody else.
100%. Like, it boggles me. It really, really boggles my mind. Like, it's just empathy. I feel like too many people just lack empathy, and they have to lack empathy because having empathy for some people just doesn't work because it's too hard.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about what you've just said about the YouTube situation. The kid wanted to be a YouTuber.
I'm gonna put his teacher in a headlock soon. Don't worry, watch this space.
I look forward to that.
I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Like
Imagine that to a little 9-year-old, a 9-year-old.
Yeah, and it's a tried and tested career. It's not like it's. I'm
not being funny, right? You can make a YouTube account, do a video, and you're a YouTuber.
Yeah.
To be a famous 100%. YouTuber now, that might be a bit trickier, but you can very easily be a YouTuber. What the teacher should have said is that is such a brilliant idea. What you're going to do on YouTube, and then so what else you're going to do in your life. I say to my son, life is long, so you can do YouTube. He likes music. You can do music. You can be a historian. You can be an archaeologist. You can be a scientist. You can do 50 million things. You don't have to stick to one. Like, don't just limit yourself to one thing. Rather than, no, you can't do that. Like, why would you do that? To a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've heard it so many times. We still get it now. You're getting a bit older now. Why are you doing a podcast and all this?
Where's that? I don't get that with the age. Even with artists, I feel like older people don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't understand it. I think you should do whatever you feel like you could.
100%.
No matter what anybody says.
That's what the full card. Going back to tarot, that's what the full card is. So it's like, forget what everyone says. People are going to say, "Oh, you're a fool." Okay.
When I first got the opportunity to be a co-host, the first thing that I did was yes, because it's an opportunity, and I don't turn opportunities down.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, I did think, why am I doing this? And since we've been doing it on a regular basis, I absolutely love it. It's just a great thing to do, talking to different people and hearing their opinions and making a difference. That's what it's 100%. About.
I do lives each week. Well, not each week at the minute, but I was doing them each week for about a year, and now I sort of do them every now and again. And I had the same. And it's like, then you start getting insecurities. You think, what's the point? You think, will people care? And all of these things. But if one person watches it and gets help, is that not enough?
That's more than enough.
Yeah, and even with the number thing, I feel like at the minute, numbers is such an important part. But if 100 people listen to that, that's like a packed pub listening to you. That's like you standing up in front of a packed pub. That's a lot of people. If 1,000 people do it, that's like a packed cinema.
Yeah.
like 2 cinemas or something. Like if you put it in actual people, that is a lot of people. Whereas we're just looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
I had to check myself at the beginning when we first started doing this, because that's the mindset I had at the beginning, was the numbers.
It's easy to fall into that though. I have to check
it
myself
is.
regularly with that.
But then I realised, I'm like, well, hang on a minute. I'm not actually doing this for the numbers. I'm doing it because I want to build my confidence up, for one. Two, I want messages from myself, Fraser, and other people that we speak to be spread. And like you said, if one person listens to it, mission accomplished, as far as I'm aware. We've done
100%. I'm all about impact over numbers. I follow a guy called Shocker. You should follow him. He's brilliant. He was in a rap group called Marvel back in the day, and then he had like a breakdown. He's in the mental hospital and stuff, and now he's come back out and he's all about impact over numbers, and he's really changed my mind about things. And I think it's very crucial because it's almost like a popularity contest sometimes when it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough room and enough space for everyone. It's just about finding your space, finding your community. And focusing on them as people, because while you're focusing on people, they'll just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, I do think it is a society thing in terms of like,
Mm-hmm.
you do tend to get people that don't understand the way things work, do tend to judge you on your numbers. You know, we've had it. Oh, you've only got so many people. No one's listening this week. And you get over it eventually. And you just kind of like, yeah, so what?
But you just need one that will pop off, and then all of them will get loads. But when I first started Instagram, I used to get thousands of views on everything. My story used to get like 1,000. One point, I had like 7,000 views or something ridiculous. I was like, how did that even happen? I've only got X amount of followers. And then the algorithm changed, and it went from 1,000 to like 50. And I was like, I literally shied away from it. I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm done with that then, and put my energies elsewhere. But then I couldn't be done with it because it's not. I wasn't doing it for numbers. I was doing it because I love to do it. I just got sidetracked by the numbers. And the minute I started jumping back into it again, things have started picking up. And I might not have the numbers, but I have. Every time I put a piece of content out, someone will message me. At least 5 or 6 people. Every time I put a story up, someone will message me. Every time I see anyone that follows my page, they'll be like, "Oh, what's that about?" Or "You made me do this," or "You made me get into that," or "Because of you now I can do this." And that's what it's for. And it's about not losing sight of that. Constantly reminding.
A lot of your content is very relatable as well. You know, the one around toxic relationships and good versus evil. You know, I listen to them myself, and they're relatable. I've been through a toxic relationship before. I mean, we all come across bad people and good people. That's just life. But they're really, really informative. That's the right word. Yeah, informative.
Yeah.
And the realistic, people can relate to them. And I think that's why it's important that people like you are out there, because messages are getting spread and it is helping people. I know it helped me in a personal
I'm glad.
And, you know, I thank you for that.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it.
No, definitely. I mean, when I first started looking at them, because I have always been, like I said at the beginning, I have always been skeptical of most things in life.
I think you should be though. Like everything I believe in has some sort of science behind it.
I'm sweating here, but that's why I'm taking this journey at the moment and trying to get as many different people from different walks of life to run me through what their life's about, and then hopefully I'll be able to shape my life a little bit better. But yeah, Fraser, have you got any more questions? You got anything that you want to add?
I did just want to say that I'm the sort of person that wears my heart on my sleeve. And I do believe you're that sort of person just through what we've talked about. And I just want to say how amazing I think what you've talked about tonight is, because you've actually sort of affirmed my faith in a way, which I think is really good. And I am going to watch content now.
Oh, I'm glad.
Because I'm really interested now.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people that are religious are a little bit with me. I remember the first time I started my page, a Sikh guy come into my DMs and was like, "You're evil," and I was like, "One second," because I know a lot about religion as well. I'm like, "Do you not cut your hair?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Okay." Okay. I'm like, do you carry a dagger? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And everything he does, I pretty much does. And he's like, you could be a Sikh. And he actually gave me the password to get into heaven, into their equivalent of heaven. I forgot it, but he gave it to me. So like, I feel like we can all connect if we talk about it. Whereas people don't talk about politics or religion. I think that's absolute rubbish. I feel like they're topics that have to be talked about.
Yeah.
Like, a bit like you, I don't have a religion. It's a faith. It's a belief. But I feel like we can all connect and we can all find a common ground of it. Yeah. And I'm glad that we did today.
We're all made out of 3 parts. We've got body, soul, and spirit. And when you get with somebody, it's not just you talking. Your spirits communicate with each other on a deeper level, and your souls get together, and we go away taking a part of that person with us.
100%.
And I think the day that people start being superficial about the conversations, like you say, politics, and talk about the real things that matter in their lives, it's not going to move. Nothing's going to change. Because the definition of a fool, do you know what that is?
I know what a fool is to me, but what is a fool definition? I don't know.
My definition is somebody who tries the same thing every day and expects a different result. Because you see so many people that do that, and they expect their lives to suddenly unfold and become right when they're not actually putting positivity in their lives.
They're not trying to step out of their comfort zone.
Not out of the comfort zone, that's right. And until you do that, and you're willing to take a chance, willing to jump out, you're not going to do it. And my aim is that if I can, like you said, one person, if I can help one person to create something, well, that's a success. And then move on to the next one and carry on.
That's it. That's the aim.
That's the aim.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on today. I've really enjoyed it.
No, definitely. It's been absolutely brilliant. One of the things I wanted to ask you is I'm going to go away and do quite a bit of research on what we've been talking about today as part of my self journey. And I'm wondering if once I've got to that point, if you'd like to come back on and then maybe we can talk.
Listen, I'm down to come on whenever. Just let me know.
That's absolutely brilliant.
It's fine.
That'd be brilliant.
Thank you very much for coming on. All of Jodie's socials will be in the description below. Make sure you go on over and give her a follow.
Anyone that's looking spiritually, I actually have a Facebook group where we all it's a very safe space for people that are in spirit. We have all different sorts of walks of life, from Christian witches to atheist witches to Reiki masters. Like, we have a real diverse bunch, and it's all about being like helpful. So for example, if you wanted resources, you could jump in there and say resources, and it's not just me. And it was created because I had so many amazing people in my DMs. I was like, I need you all to get together and like help each other. And that's why that's there. So if anyone's looking for spiritual help and advice, jump in my DMs, but that's also there for you.
No, definitely. And that again will be down in the description. We have been the Chat Down. Remember, people, he's coming home. And peace.
Yeah.
Bye.
Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I cry. I apologize a trillion times.
We used to roll with it. She said I'm owning it. We kept it real like two homies till we broke with it. She said she got the feelings, now the feelings kinda phony. So I guess it's only right I lead this like a roadie. Life's kinda crazy, at times I thought I made it, but I could have 50 grand and still duck the bailiffs. In and out of trouble since a younger, nothing changes. You can play a role but not the lead on my stages.
Cyrus Jackson, I'm for real. Never meant to make you thought I cry. I apologize a trillion times. Cyrus Jackson, I am for real. apologize a trillion times.
I used to dream about making it big. Used to vision my position on the stage from the crib. Made a decision I should chase it. If I make it, then sick. If I don't, well, I just hope I pave a way with a brick. It's like we all struggle in this life, it's how we live it. Always on the grind and praying something gon' give in. I've been glutton for a minute, that's the reason I keep with it. If I didn't, I'd be finished. That's the realest shit I've written.
I'm sorry, Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I'd cry. I apologize a trillion times. Sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I'd cry. I apologize a trillion times.
I used to dream that I would make it big, advance from the label sick. Yeah, I'm on the chart like playing kid. It's just bars, that's what I'm labeled with. Calm to hear my latest shit. Yeah, the tape is sick. Raw, now they're taking pics. Link in my bio when I make them click. She put in heart emojis and I gave her winks. Left it on red, can she take the hint? This relationship ain't legit. Yeah, I want the fame and whips, the iced out chain, the drip. A nice stone made to live, white or rosé to sip. Don't wanna have to buy cocaine and bricks. I just wanna pop in a country like Taylor Swift and make it swift. And I go apologize when I take the piss. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I'm so sorry, Miss Jackson. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I'd cry. I apologize a trillion times. Sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make you thought I'd cry. I apologize a trillion times. Never meant to make you thought I'd cry. I apologize a trillion times.